We have a good time on this show. This is going to be a good time on Sunday. The rivalry between the Ravens and Steelers continues as they battle it out for first place in the division. Russell Wilson has looked like his old self since being inserted into the lineup, and Pittsburgh hasn't lost with him under center. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson is leading the NFL's best offense and is the heavy favorite to win his third MVP. Elle Duncan, what is the better storyline this season? Russell Wilson's resurgence or Lamar going for his third MVP?
It is 100% Russell Wilson. And so many people have to eat crow, and I am absolutely on that list. I am a Broncos fan, for people that don't know. I celebrated at Disney World when I found out that Russ was coming to Denver because that's what I thought that we needed. And I also cheered when he left. And I know that there is so much culpability at the feet of Sean Payton. How the Broncos treated Russ down the stretch was abhorrent and ridiculous and not at all indicative of the franchise that I know. And still, knowing all of those things, it still determined whether I thought that the Steelers should give him a shot. And I was firmly on team. Justin Fields hasn't done enough to lose it, and Russell Wilson hasn't done enough to actually prove himself to just get that role when he was healthy. And he has proved me and so many other haters wrong. We had this man dead and buried. We had his career over. When you think about his tenure at the Broncos, the only thing that's punctuated by is parking lot privileges and let's ride. That's what you think about. His legacy was being trashed by people like me. And now he's come to this place, and it's a small sample size. It's only been a handful of games, but he seems to have gotten that patented moonshot back. He seems to be the Russ that the Broncos thought they were getting from Seattle, and I think he is an absolutely incredible story. I love Lamar, but this is fantastic.
But, Elle, you said something earlier in the show that a lot of teams have not had meaningful wins.
Sure.
I said that about the Commanders. I'm also going to say that about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're undefeated. Let's cite those wins. New York Jets.
Sure.
The New York Giants. Washington Commanders. Which is still up in the air. Is that really a good team?
A good win.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I'm just keeping it a buck. Can I keep it funky? It is Friday, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know yet. So the importance is Russell Wilson's resurgence. And unfortunately, Lamar Jackson, with my comrade over there that's wearing that suit, he's going to say the same. Nothing else matters in Lamar Jackson's shrine except a ring. Not a trophy, a ring. More specifically, a Lombardi trophy.
Sure.
So he's in that situation where nobody cares. Well, he should care. Legacy does. But nothing else matters in Lamar's case. But Russell Wilson, it's like, can we get a meaningful win versus a quality opponent? That's my question.
Stephen A.?
My answer to this question is Lamar. I heard everything that Elle is saying, and I understand that. But the reality is that you can call it eating crow all you want to. All we did was report the facts, Elle. Russell Wilson didn't look good. He departed from Seattle. Pete Carroll and them couldn't get him out there fast enough. He goes to Denver. Nathaniel Hackett is there with him. They looked god-awful. And he did things and was conducting himself in a fashion that brought into question a lot of the reasons, or, brought into question why he had arrived there in the first place. Now, he goes to Pittsburgh, and what did they do? You got to remember, Denver is paying more than $37 million of his salary.
Oh, I know.
They're paying him $37.8 million to go away. And he's in Pittsburgh, and he's flat out balling, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. But a guy like Mike Tomlin and the tradition that exists within Pittsburgh has a lot to do with that as well, because folks could argue they had to rein him in to some degree, okay? Now we look at Lamar Jackson. Let's understand why Lamar Jackson, in my estimation, is the answer to this question. I'm just looking at some numbers here, okay, guys? Passing yards, second to Joe Burrow. Yards per attempt, first. TD passes, tied for first with Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield. TD to interception ratio, 24-2, first in the NFL. Leads the NFL in rushing yards, QBR, passer rating. That's Lamar Jackson, who is a two-time league MVP and en route to a third. Are you going to close the door? Are you going to win? Are you going to finally get it done? That level, that intrigue, those question marks are what make Lamar, to me, a bigger storyline than the resurgence of a Russell Wilson. Because if Baltimore wasn't good, but Lamar Jackson was just balling. That would be different. But looking at how good this offense is and what they're capable of accomplishing, if Lamar Jackson continues to look this way, is what makes his story a more compelling, intriguing story in my mind.
I'm not diminishing at all what it would be to get a third MVP trophy. I think there's only ever been 6 players in NFL history that have had one, and I understand that fully. What Lamar's doing is ridiculous. You're a dual threat quarterback. The guy's on pace for over 5,000 yards. That's absolutely absurd. I get all of that. But I sat on this show a few weeks ago and said that this season for Lamar is going to be measured simply with one thing. Did he win a Super Bowl?
Right.
And so the third MVP, I personally don't think it matters as much to him as winning a Super Bowl. But for the reasons that you just laid out, Stephen A., the Broncos paid this man to go away. Sean Payton threw this man completely under the bus. They benched him so they wouldn't have to pay him any more money. They literally tried to drag his name through the mud. And he is now at a place that saw value in him. And despite the fact that Justin Fields didn't exactly light it up, but was doing okay, had steadied the ship, and they still believed in him enough to pick him first. I think it's a great story. And I'm with you, Cam, in that they haven't really played anybody tough. But the Broncos played some bad teams last year, too, and the year before, and they didn't win any games.
All right, I got to go. But Sunday will tell you a lot, right? I mean,
If
after,
they beat the
if he goes out and
Ravens.
wins, that now we're talking a formidable opponent.
Yeah, for sure.